What you'll see here is one day's workout for my 14-year-old daughter. She's been at this since probably a second grader, and she'll be a freshman next year in high school. When I watch videos like this, I often find myself taking notes or screenshots. I'll have this in a Google Doc and in a PDF at my website, thetorg.com. If you'd like to print that out, take it with you out onto the court. This is just an example of what we've been doing. We don't do the same thing every day. We kind of have an A day and a B day, and those drills and how we spend our time is always evolving, in part related to the system that we're in, the shots that we think we're going to be getting, trying to find something to work on. For example, last year we really worked on finishing at the hoop, and in the last few months we've been paying special attention to getting arc, getting hand under the ball. Hoping there might be something here in this video that you can grab. Love to hear from you at Bill Torg on Twitter if you got questions or ideas or suggestions for what we're doing. My own personal strategy with workouts has been I've had to be okay with being unskilled, meaning if you're doing Mikan layups and you miss most of them and the ball is going everywhere, it doesn't look good, and you have to be okay with that, and you hang in and you let time add up and you start getting better, and then you adapt to what can be done. If you're throwing a ball against the wall and trying to do a between the legs, and the drill calls for you to do a double, and you can't do a double, you figure out what you can do, and so you adapt the drills to the skill level. And then the intensity level, still isn't what I would like to see from my daughter Charlotte, but she's working on it. But it's more intense than it used to be. As the player gets more skilled, as the player gets more used to what the drill or situation calls for, the intensity level can go up. And then competition, trying to get playing time, competition in travel tournaments, those things often are helpful in ratcheting up intensity level. And so, as I said, Charlotte has been doing this since she's in the second grade. Back then, 10 minutes was a lot. And so it's been a long haul here, 7 years or so, stretching that out. She can put in a pretty good 2 hours now. We recover. This day has an on-court workout. It also has a separate 100 free throw session. She did some stuff in our weight room at the home, and then also some hill running. And so this was probably closer to a 3-hour day. You can't jump in and do 3 hours from zero. I think starting slow and starting with something simple and stretching that out over months and years is probably the most effective strategy, at least when it comes to me and when it comes to Charlotte. So the first ball handling drill we do here to get warmed up is Curry build-up. Again, we don't do the same ball handling drills every day, which I think in part helps to keep it interesting. You'll see my youngest daughter, 11, Isabel, also participating in this part. Another thing you think about when you're working with young athletes, probably athletes of any age, is overtraining. Charlotte used to have more trouble with her feet and ankles, and crossing our fingers, she's been in pretty good shape. So it's been a lot of experimentation about how much can we train. We got into a little bit of trouble. We did tons of training and jumping on hard surfaces, basement that was concrete at the time, and an outdoor playground. She seems to have built up enough strength, or her body's gotten used to that kind of training. Isabel is dealing with a little bit of tendinitis, which we won't get into how we're treating that. But so she's taking a little bit of break and not doing near as much. The Curry build-up is just something that Steph Curry does in warm-ups. I'm sure he didn't come up with it. But you do a crossover dribble. You go between the legs from the front right into a behind the back, and then the ball's back out in front again, and then you do 2 crossovers, and then you go between the legs from the front, and then you do 2 behind the backs. We call those V's into 3, and we build up to 4, and we also time that just to be a little bit competitive. We keep a sheet that has records. So this is the Curry buildup. We're still in the warm-up ball handling segment. So we've got a tennis ball. We throw that on the wall. We try to do a double crossover and then catch it. We do 5 catches of the tennis ball with one hand. Then we switch sides. This might be an example of where if you can't do the double crossover, then you do the single crossover, catch the ball with the other hand, and just do 10 reps of that instead of 2 sets of 5 with each hand. And, backing up even further than that, you just do a regular crossover. So you want to find that kind of stretch zone for the athlete. This is the tennis ball wall toss with between the legs. So you're trying to catch the ball with the same hand you throw it with. Charlotte can do that pretty well. On the right, in the middle there, I kind of alternate between doing the one or doing the double. And then with Isabel, who's 11, she's not quite up to this drill yet. She's usually better off just throwing it on the wall, going between the legs once, and trying to catch it with that other hand. This is still throwing the ball on the wall and trying to go behind the back twice. I didn't really mention that I'm not a big stationary ball handling guy. Mostly probably has to do a little bit with philosophy. Maybe if I had James Harden or Kyrie Irving or the middle school girls basketball version of that, then I might clear out a lot and let somebody back up and put together 4 dribble moves. But generally we're trying to make a little bit quicker decisions, and so we tend to focus the heart of our ball handling on what I would call functional ball handling, which is just stuff we need to do, like improve angles within the offense for passes, or maybe, and then a lot more on move and counter move, which we'll get into more later. This is the last one of these. We're throwing 2 tennis balls on the wall, so we're kind of juggling that with one hand while we pound dribble with the other. We're usually going for a pretty decent streak with catches on the one hand with the 2 balls. Maybe 25 tennis ball catches would be a good score for us, and that'd be enough, and we'd move on to the next drill. This is our post move section. We're spinning out the ball and landing on 2 feet with a jump stop. We're keeping the feet still with just giving a little bit of a head and shoulder turn opposite from the direction we're going to end up going. We take a big step. We don't need to dribble because we're going to lift the pivot foot but not put it back down. We put the ball in the air. We're doing reps each way. She's shooting over me, trying to work on getting that release higher. Sometimes it just ends up being a turnaround jump shot, which will be real easy to block. So we're trying to extend our arm and shooting up and over the defense. Pretty standard stuff here, just to step through. She's facing up, she's showing the fake, she's stepping across me and shooting a layup. So previously the jump hook and the step through, pretty much everyone does those. Charlotte and I spent quite a bit of time just watching old Celtics games and studying what McHale does. So here we're facing up and just taking an extra big step after the face up and shooting a little scoop. This is another one that we do from watching McHale. We're just taking a dribble to the middle, spinning and shooting a reverse layup. And then, this is something we also kind of work on when we do the reverse Mikins, and then we can grow out of this move, faking the reverse layup, but coming back to the strong side. So we just kind of start with a move and a counter move and build up from there. Now we're moving on to high post flash shooting. Just so happens, I think our local high school, the guards do quite a bit of flashing from the weak side into the high post area, so we want to be able to hit that shot. There could be lots of reasons, even just a flash in a man-to-man offense. We make this competitive, so Charlotte and I here are competing the first to 5. The loser has to jog to the end of the yard and touch the fence. Pretty small penalty, but just making a little bit of a competition makes it more interesting. Okay, same setup as the high post flash. We're just adding a hard jab step. One thing I might have forgot to mention before is it'd be good to simulate passes coming from different places, top of the key or either wing. We're playing this competition to 5 again. This last thing we do from the high post is just kind of a culmination of the previous 2 drills. So it's a hard jab step, a shot fake, then go. We don't make this one a competition. I just play defense for a couple reps and try to give Charlotte a couple different reads on how I react to her fakes and jabs. We call this between the legs and go. It's an off the dribble move. So Charlotte's just facing me up, dribbling, and she's trying to go between the legs and attacking. So there's lots of moves, in and out, behind the back twice, between the legs into behind the back, combo moves. So there's a bunch of different moves you can do. We're just trying to start real simple and focusing on one and then a counter move here in a second. So we're to the counter move part. So we've got between the legs, and now we're trying to go between the legs right into behind the back. I think what you want to do here is just kind of pick a player's favorite move and then figure out If that favorite move is taken away, what's the counter to that? Charlotte's already using spin moves. She'll use that in a game if she's got one player to beat in the open court. So we're trying to progress into something extra now. So this is the form shooting segment of the workout. We're looking for 5 good ones from short, medium, and long for a total of 15 good ones. It might take us 45 shots to get good ones. As far as a recommendation for learning to shoot and shooting technique, I really like, if you'll YouTube Dave Love Manitoba Basketball. There's 2 long, maybe an hour each clinic sessions for free on YouTube, and you can get a lot there. I don't think you can, you can't think of 5 things when you're working on your shot. So you pick out some places to start and go from there. At the moment, Charlotte, we're trying to get her to shoot a higher arcing ball, which means that her hand has to be underneath the ball, and elbow lift instead of like elbow push toward the rim. The elbow lift is what we think gives us the arc. So I spent a lot of time reminding Charlotte about arc, and part of the good one in this case has to do with the elbow lift and the arc. So now we're doing the form shooting again, but this time with a hop. So we face the side, we do a hop, which of course is a travel if you're holding the ball, and then we try to shoot. I think what you'll see is if the players have been taught some of the techniques, that in form shooting it won't take too long until they're able to do that pretty well. But as soon as they start playing in the games, they go back to the old habit. So the jump just makes the move a little bit more complex, one step further toward game conditions. And now we're looking to get the same form that we were getting with the more stationary form shooting. I think if we go back to the Dave Love videos that I recommended you to, he's going to call this something like good energy and negative energy. So the good energy is the jump up and toward the basket, the follow through toward the basket, some of the things that you've been working on up and toward the basket. You'll see that as you twist, you might have a tendency to jump sideways. You might have a tendency to follow through away from the basket. So we've kind of settled into 3 good jumps from each direction. So she'll start close, she'll hop to face the basket, she'll do the form shooting looking for good energy, she'll have 3 good ones, and then she'll face the other way and do it from the other way, and then we go, so that'll be 6 good ones from 3 spots for 18 good ones. So in this segment, it's 6 shots off a chair. This kind of goes back to my days growing up in Indiana, going to Sam Alford's basketball camps in Indianapolis. And then his son Steve, who won the national title with Indiana in 1987, I think they put out a video that involved a lot of work with the chair. So we're just making 6 shots here. We put the ball down on the chair, we run a cut, we pick it up off the chair, we shoot the jump shot. If we miss it, we finish it. Then we dribble out to the top of the key. We're imagining that as a ball screen. We're setting up with a dribble away from the chair, coming off the chair, and then shooting a pull-up jump shot. Pretty good conditioner. You could string together sets of these of making 6 and get a pretty good workout in. Now we're into on the move threes. Charlotte's running from side to side behind the 3-point line while I pass. She's shooting 2 sets of 10, and so am I, and the loser will run. I think one thing we're doing here is the number of threes we take per day isn't that high, probably not over 50 usually. And the decision we've kind of made is, for example, last offseason we worked a lot on finishing at the rim. We worked a lot on landing on 2 feet and different kinds of pivoting out of pressure. Just not wanting to be the kind of player where if you're not making threes on offense, then you don't have much you can give. So Charlotte's already putting in 2 to 3 hours, 6 days a week. And so our number of threes are down, and there might be a time, where we shift the emphasis to where we're getting more threes per day. So these are the shot fake from 3, side dribble, stay behind the 3-point line shots. If you're going to be a good shooter, it's not going to take much to get people to go for your shot fake. And so this maybe is where analytics is coming in a little bit, whereas I might have done a lot of drilling of a shot fake 3, couple dribbles, pull up, 17-footer. That's still a shot that we practice maybe, for example, in the high post series part of the workout. But now, so we get somebody off their feet, we take the side dribble, and sometimes we think the three-pointer is a better shot than the 18-footer off the shot fake. So we're shooting 10 in each direction, and it's a competition, and the loser runs. So Charlotte and I finish up with one-on-one. We'll come back later for 100 free throws, and then we'll go to some hill runs and some stuff in the weight room. But for this segment of On the Court, we play one-on-one. An adjustment for rules you might make. Charlotte and I make this adjustment. It might make the same adjustment for Charlotte and her little sister, is that Charlotte gets to play make it, take it if I scored Charlotte's ball. So that makes it a little bit more even. Me here, I'm just trying to provide the right amount of competition to where Charlotte might get some work containing the ball. We might talk about how she doesn't go to her jump hook, or we might start to see that the between the legs, behind the back counter is something that all of a sudden she pulls out and works pretty well. So it's just I think most importantly, maybe, two things. One, that it's competitive. Two, the conditioning. I know back when I was in Greenwood playing one-on-one with a guy named Craig Bruns, I know I got exhausted after one game. So pretty good conditioner, chance to put what we've been working on into game situations. So on this day, we went right to hill running. Sometimes we'll take a little break after the on-court work to do the hills. Each of these reps takes us, a fast one is probably 26 and a slow one is around 35. We run up the hill, we walk down, we run another rep. We started with 2 reps, we built up to 8, and then we started over back at 1, building up to 8. So every other day is a leg day for us. We work out 6 days and then we take a day off. So every other day we're running hills. So we're fortunate enough to have a little bit of a weight room. We work upper body and core on A days, and we work legs and core on B days. Most of this stuff I have, of course I've collected it over many years, but kind of focused on a book by Tim Grover called Jump Attack. Grover was probably most famously Michael Jordan's trainer. So the stuff in that book is too much, too long, too intense for, I think, middle school girl bodies and where we are in our evolution as athletes. But I think that's a pretty good, interesting resource to check out. So the stretches that you'll see us doing come from, recently coaching middle school girls basketball. We get a lot of shin splint, Achilles tendonitis, ankle, foot pain, which is pretty common in volleyball and basketball players, I think. So we're doing kicks. We're pulling the quadricep back from a standing position. We're doing ankle circles, big movements in each directions. We're doing 2 kinds of wall stretches, stretching the calf and the Achilles, and we're doing some sitting on the floor static hamstring stretching. So those are just a few of the exercises, stretches I should say, that we've kind of honed in on, especially related to shin splints and Achilles tendonitis. So these are fire hydrants in the Grover Jump Attack book. He was huge into the fire hydrants. I'm pretty flagrantly disobeying some of his advice. He had Michael doing fire hydrants in between each exercise of the workout, but I think this is, from my memory, related to a flexible athlete. An athlete who's flexible in the hips is jumping higher and more athletic. So we're pulling the knee up, pushing it out to the side, and then pushing it back, and then we're reversing directions, and then we're doing the leg straight out to the side. That's the one that especially evokes dog and fire hydrant, and then we're doing the other side. After the fire hydrants, we're going to walk out, so we're turning over on our back, bracing our shoulders against the floor, lifting our butt up off the floor, walking out with our feet to full extension, and then walking it back in. These are one-legged squats, and I got these from Jacob Hiller from the Jump Manual. So if you Google Jacob Hiller Jump, you'll get to his website. Part of his fitness testing was whether you could do one-legged squat with no assistance, and neither Charlotte or I can do that. And so we're getting this help by sitting down on a bench or a box, hoping to work our way up to being able to do this without any assistance. Jump angle squats up next. We do 3 sets of 5. Notice that Charlotte has some weight in her hands, and Jacob, this also from Jacob, talked about a jump angle, which is the position kind of where you naturally jump to do anything. So we try to start in that jump angle, holding the weight and getting up 5 times. And then we do 3 extra jumps without the weight as high as we can on the wall. The jump angle has also been kind of interesting to apply to shooting as well. So we kind of talk about, for example, when we're doing those hops earlier in the workout, we land in the jump angle ready to go instead of landing and then needing to bend the legs and get into an athletic position. I don't have a name for these. We're up on our box and we're coming down off the box, landing in our jump angle, and then we're exploding up as high as we can. We do 3 sets of 8. So we've got 2 things going on right here. Charlotte's doing what we call Bronco kick jumps, also from Jacob. She's down on all 4s. She kicks up as high as she can. She pops up and jumps, and while she's doing that, I'm doing defensive slides with a band around my ankles. So I go down, back, and down. Charlotte does 8 of the Bronco kick jumps, and then we trade, and we do that 3 times. When I heard Jacob speak in an online clinic, he used the phrase mojo jump, and the mojo seemed to be just a little bit higher than as high as you can jump. So we're finishing up with 3 sets of 5 as high as we can jump. We've got that mojo jump marked on the wall, and I think the idea is that with more repetition of jumping, your body gets used to that, and so you're able to do it with more power. The last thing we did on this day was shoot 100 free throws. We chart that just on a clipboard next to the court, and we also try to chart streaks so we have a pretty good idea about the most we've hit in a row all time, and then from day to day what our best streaks were. We don't always do this stuff in the same order. You know, some days we'll finish playing one-on-one and want to get hills over with. Some days we'll finish one-on-one and we'll want to shoot the free throws and take a break to later in the day. I've got a lot to learn about all this stuff. I know that our technique isn't what it could be. I have an English degree and just trying to learn player development, trying to learn the strength and agility stuff. So thanks for watching the video. I hope it'll just be part of a conversation about teaching the game of basketball. So love to hear from you about that.